Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Football.
Welcome into the Inside Arkansas Football pregame show presented by Saracen, Arkansas's #1 sports betting app. I'm Curtis Wilkerson, joined by Andrew Ellis. We have intern Cameron, just keeping this operation afloat behind the scenes. Shout out to intern Cameron. Last one of these that we're going to do, Andrew, before the dawn of a new era. So Arkansas gets set to officially wrap the 2025 season. Is anybody really upset about that? I don't know, but Missouri's coming to town for a 2:30 kickoff at Razorback Stadium. You can watch it on SEC Network. I think this game was originally scheduled to be an evening game, and then they said, nah, fam, let's go ahead and move that to the middle of the day. It's cold. It's wet. It's windy here in Northwest Arkansas. Razorback fans, many of them, I think, are maybe more concerned about who's the next coach going to be? When's it going to become official? And we'll talk about that plenty on the show. Make sure you get your chats in. But I will say, Andrew, given the circumstances, and there's a lot of them, man, I'm kind of looking forward to this game. I didn't think that I would get there before Saturday, but I am, because I would love to see Bobby Petrino go out with a dub and notching it over Eli Drinkwitz. I mean, like, fresh off his big contract extension, that would be funny and satisfying. That's all I'm looking for today.
Yeah, well, that certainly is true. It would be funny and satisfying. I'm not quite there with you where I'm like excited for the game. I'm hoping by 2:30 I'm there, that I'm like by this afternoon, I've, got a few bevies in me and I'm all ready to roll. And for those that are curious, if you're like, man, I really don't have a ton of interest in hearing a pregame show about a game I don't care about or whatever. No worries. We do this thing is live. This thing is on. We're live. We can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. And so we'll talk about Bobby Petrino's swan song because it is relevant. That is what we're doing here today. But of course, we're down to talk about whatever you guys want to. Heck, this might, after 40 minutes, just turn into an extended post game of the Duke game. We'll just see. But no, the vibes are good today. I'm there. It's going to be a chaotic, historic day in college football today. I don't think that's an exaggeration or dramatic to say. And so for me, I'm buckling in my seatbelt. I'm ready to ride the roller coaster. I'm looking forward to a fun day of football, chaos, coaching search, panic, all of the above. I'm ready for that.
Yeah, me too. And you're right, dude. It's going to be, just from a college football landscape standpoint, a chaotic day. And we'll get into all the coaching search stuff in a minute. And not just Arkansas's, but the dominoes that may or may not potentially impact what they have going on. Everybody's like on Lane Kiffin tweet watch or whatever as we sit here today. But this is, it's the last act of the Bobby Petrino 2.0 regime here at Arkansas. And, when he took over for Sam Pittman after that Notre Dame game, we had no idea what this was going to look like. We knew that he was going to be a candidate for the job, that he was interested in it. We all did the mental gymnastics and the math of, okay, well, how many games does he have to win to really be considered? All that's out the door now. We know that. They've lost all of them up to this point. And he sent out the statement earlier in the week, just thanking Razorback fans, appreciative of the opportunity. I thought it was a really classy thing that he put out there. We talked about it on Inside Arkansas Live. But now we're not doing the thing, at least I certainly don't think we are, where it's like, okay, what are the stakes for this Missouri game here? And I think the people who are super passionate about it from no, it can't be Bobby. You got to turn the page. I feel like most people, Andrew, are able to put that behind them and maybe look at this from this sounds weird, but like an appreciative standpoint of, hey, we remember the good old days. Thank you for your service in a tough situation that you were put into here. And you got us through the end of this season. Let's all root for him to go out on a high note. At least that's how I feel. Is that going to happen? I have no idea, because this is obviously not a very good football team, but I do hope that between that, and then this is also the last time that we are going to see guys like Taylon Green and Cam Ball and Mike Washington, Omega Blake, Carmona, Rohan Jones, like the list goes on and on and on. I hope it's enough to just keep them engaged and playing hard, because this has been a disaster. At least go out on your shield. We've seen Arkansas end seasons in the past at home against Missouri where they didn't have a care in the world. And it just leaves you with God, that was as bad as I thought it was. It would be nice to turn the page for this football program on a decent note, which involves not losing 10 straight.
Yeah, absolutely. Rivalry week, there's a reason we always say that term, hey, throw out the record books. Oh, the records don't matter here and blah, blah, blah. There's a reason we say it. It's not actually true, but we say it because going into these games, we get into a rivalry game. And I know Arkansas, Missouri is not really what fans consider to be a true rival, but it is the type of week like this week. Thanksgiving week is a time where your season's coming to an end. You're playing an opponent you hate. It doesn't matter if you're 2-9 or you're 9-2. Just go out there and play football. And throughout our entire lives, that's what this weekend has been about. You're 4-7 as an Arkansas team, and you're going in there to Baton Rouge. We're going to play LSU, and we might beat them and spoil their season. And Arkansas's done that before. That is the kind of mindset today. You should be thrilled about the proponent of throwing out your record books when you're 2-9. And so for Arkansas, I'm hoping that's something that, knowing it's the end of the road, knowing that this is it, I'm hoping that gives them a little bit of a jolt. But I got to be honest with you, Curtis. I agree with your sentiment that we've all kind of put the Bobby P as head coach thing to bed. But we have to acknowledge that this is going to be a chaotic day. Would it be the craziest thing in the world? And this is not Andrew Ellis speaking. This is okay. Just a devil's advocate and kind of assessing the way things are about to play out here. There's a lot that can happen today. Mm-hmm. A lot that can involve. I mean, hell, by the end of today, Alex Golesh could have signed on the dotted line to be Arkansas's head coach. At the end of the day, Lane Kiffin could have stayed at Ole Miss, gone to LSU, not gone to Florida probably. Doesn't seem like that's happening. But there's a lot of variables here. If Arkansas wins this game today, I'm not saying that would be like, hey, now he's the head coach, but it's like, I don't know, man. I think that's way more in play than people maybe realize, just because of how many variables there are in other spots.
It is going to be wild. And we'll talk about the like the math, the domino effect or whatever. We used to do this with like playoff odds or March Madness bracketology. It's like, okay, if this team wins here and this team loses here, you get this seed, you get that seed. These guys are in, these guys are out. We're kind of doing that with this coaching search stuff. All right, if Lane Kiffin does this, then A, B, C, and D could potentially happen. And yeah, you're 100% right. So we're not so far removed from a world where all of a sudden Arkansas moves on to Kane Womack and they're trying to get Bobby back as the OC. Who knows? Like stranger things have happened for sure.
Well, and I mean, to be clear, like just before anyone starts yelling at me in the chat, this is very much not what I'm not promoting it. Like, I'm not saying like, hey, this is what I want to happen. But I think the goal, one of the things we heard a lot of times during this coaching search was Arkansas wants to have their guy before all the dominoes start falling, before they can start getting into bidding wars with other teams, before they start joining the big conglomerate, which is going to be the state of college football in 24 hours, where it's just a complete wild, wild west free for all. That was Arkansas's goal, was to have this done before all that starts happening. They've got, I guess, a few hours, but it doesn't seem like they are going to accomplish that goal. Now, you may be listening to this and saying, well, but they've already agreed with Golesh and he's probably going to sign. I hope you're right. And I believe that is somewhat true. But I think that, the goal of getting this done before everything else starts going crazy, I don't think that goal is going to be accomplished. And so like we've said all along, like once you get to this point where Ole Miss is open potentially, Florida is still open potentially, Auburn is still open potentially, Penn State is still open potentially, like all bets are off. And so I do really think we are very much dangerously approaching all bets are off territory. For Arkansas's sake, I do hope that they've got their guy. They've got more of a plan than we give them credit for sometimes.
I would certainly hope that's the case too. And it's funny because I think just given the situation with Arkansas, just as an athletic department as a whole, what we've seen from different coaching searches, the way the last one played out, when you wound up landing on Sam Pittman, different situations, different timeframes, whatever, the deal with basketball where it was Chris Beard until it wasn't. And then you didn't know where it was headed. And all of a sudden out of nowhere, it's John Calipari. So, and then with the way this one's gone out with all the, I guess in a way you could call it misinformation. In other ways, you could call it a lack of information, very quiet and buttoned up. There's, a lot of people who say, well, that's a good thing. Great job, Hunter, keeping this close to the vest. And other people are saying, well, but the talk, that's churning back there is that maybe this is a little bit of a mess. And was it Eric Morris? Was it not? Were you in on James Franklin? Were you not? It just seems like everything that we've thought was like you could take it to the bank as a fact so far throughout this has wound up not being the case for whatever reason. And there's a lot of fluidity to all these things. So I'm with you. I think it's a fair assumption at this point that South Florida's Alex Golesh will be officially announced as Arkansas's head coach at some point here this weekend, whether it be late Saturday night or some point Sunday. But for any Razorback fans who are out there who are like, hey, I'll believe it, like you said, when it's signed in blood, man, when it is officially announced, because I've heard this done deal, this handshake agreement agreed in principle stuff before, and it hasn't worked out. So if you feel skittish about it, I get it, especially with all the interesting dominoes that are going to fall here over the next 24, 48 hours or so.
Shout out to Otis Kirk. Otis Kirk could get his redemption low key, because you remember it was about a week ago. I guess it was Sunday when Otis Kirk first started saying, "Hey, I have heard that Alex Golesh isn't going to interview with Arkansas. He's not super interested, and the reason why is because he wants that Ole Miss job." And everyone, dismissed that and laughed at him. And then, of course, 3 days later, Golesh gets reported as agreed to be the head coach, and we're all like, "Oh wow, that came out of nowhere." Otis Kirk, you're old. You're an idiot. I do think, I'm not saying Otis was right, but I do think the Ole Miss job is like the obvious, barricade in between Arkansas and Alex Golesh being a done deal. And so, I mean, listen, it's hard for us not to address this Lane Kiffin thing. And we were talking about it right before we went live. I've spent pretty much the entire time this whole process has been going on, I have been of the mindset that Lane Kiffin is not going to leave Ole Miss, that he is going to stick around, and he is just kind of doing the flair for the dramatics, and he's doing, whatever, just to play it up. Yesterday is the literal, that is the first day, and I've actually accepted, oh crap, he is going to LSU. This is a real thing that's happening. And I don't know that's really, I'm not reporting that. I just, that seems to be where things are trending. All the national guys seem to think he's going to LSU. Pro Football Talk says that he's already recruiting his LSU staff, putting it together. So if we are to assume that the Ole Miss job is available, that doesn't mean right point blank, that means Arkansas is not getting Golesh, but it does mean that there is definitely a wrench in the plan. There is definitely something that Arkansas will now have to compete against, whether that be a bidding war, whether that just be convincing Alex Golesh, I don't know. But I think the ball's at the 5-yard line, but it's 3rd and goal. You still got to complete a pass, and you still got, you got one more chance. But it's you have to make a play here. We'll see if Arkansas can make that play as all these other dominoes start to fall.
Yes, and I want to talk about those dominoes and how each one of them could impact what Arkansas has got going on here. And again, maybe we hope or maybe we believe that they won't. It just doesn't matter. It's already over, and I hope that's the case. But we're not in the business of assuming anything anymore with how this has all gone down. But before we dive into that, got to tell you about our partners over at Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas. Guys, if you're in Northwest Arkansas or the River Valley, have Walter Christmas Lighting install and set up your house with professional Christmas lighting like you've never seen before. They provide all the materials, any color, any pattern. They do the installation. They do the maintenance throughout the holiday season. And they come do the takedowns for you in January. They have hooked me up for Halloween lights and Christmas lights. They look awesome. I'm still popping in the neighborhood. That's what I'm looking for down here. And they're great. Text our guy Brett for a free estimate at 479-459-1380. You can also check out their website at walterchristmaslighting.com or like them on Facebook by scanning the QR code there on your screen. It's Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas, your local holiday lighting experts. Okay, so let's take this from a few different angles and go through it here, Andrew, and then obviously we'll get to everybody's chats here. And hey, before we get out of here, for those who are just so dialed into to Arkansas and Mizzou football today, we'll go through some of the props and the bets and the fun plays over at Saracen. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about what they should do between Taylon Green and KJ Jackson, because this is a weird situation as it pertains to that. And then, we'll give you our picks or whatever at the end. So bear with us here. But yes, there are a lot of interesting dominoes to follow. First of all, if you're, on Alex Golesh watch, which I am, his team plays Rice at 6:00 tonight. So a lot of the thought process, well, let's put it this way, lock in and watch that game. There's other good games going on, but watch your future coach, see that offense in action, see your future quarterback perhaps in action. I think you could have some fun with that. But I would say pay attention afterwards, because he is going to have a post-game press conference regardless, and you bet your butt they are going to be asking him questions about that while he's there, and he'll probably give the stock answers, or he'll say, hey, I'm not talking about it. We're just going to enjoy this win. Or, yeah, I need to talk to my family, got some decisions to make, whatever. I don't think he's going to go up there to the press conference tonight and say, yes, I'm going to Arkansas. No, I'm not going anywhere. But you can read some body language and you can see how uncomfortable or comfortable someone is in those situations. So I do think that's going to be fascinating from the Arkansas standpoint. Some of the thought is the leak of this came early, and it's, hey, the formalities had to be finalized, and he just wanted to coach his game. They wanted to keep it quiet, but it's done. In fairness, and believe who you want to believe, but to the South Florida side, and the message that's been conveyed pretty much unanimously nationally, it's not no, Golesh isn't coming to Arkansas. Most people think that will ultimately wind up happening, but they're very heavily saying, hey, no decision's been made. He's weighing, leaving for Arkansas versus staying put versus playing the field, and he's going to make a decision after the games this weekend. Again, I don't think Arkansas fans have a ton to worry about, but anyone nervous about it or skeptical after how all this has gone, you're well within your rights to feel that way.
Well, I mean, it goes back to the idea that, like, because we did the last time that we did a live stream besides basketball on Thursday, on Wednesday, we did our Inside Arkansas live show, which is when the whole report happened and when we started doing this whole conversation. And we kind of the whole show was about, did we jump the gun? Was this report like a little bit too ahead, or is this still something we should believe? And we kind of spent an hour and a half trying to decide, should we really believe that Alex Golesh has now been named Arkansas's head coach? And I think the conclusion we came to was, it's a little early to say that. We can still be optimistic that it's going to get down to the finish line. We can still, expect that to be the reality. But I think by this point, we can confidently, without a shadow of a doubt, say that was a little bit premature, right? And especially when you have literally like national reporters like Brett McMurphy saying, no, in fact, he has not agreed to be the head coach. You have people from South Florida who were like, he hadn't agreed to be the coach. He was planning on leaving, but he's not agreed to be the coach. Like, I'm inclined to believe some of that out there. And so, it's just one of those things that, like I said, that was the goal for Arkansas, was to lock this thing up before we got here. It does not appear that is going to be successful. Now, we'll see. I mean, he's coaching tonight. Hopefully by this time tomorrow, we know he's the coach and we're all fine and dandy. But, man, it just is, like you said, it's hard not to have that uneasy feeling. Curtis, I want to ask you, so now it's 20 minutes in, not even. We're getting into rumors and, fake reports and stuff like that territory. But I want to ask you, because anytime stuff like this starts happening, you start seeing specific things reported. And I don't even remember where I saw those reports, so you can help me out. But I saw a number floating around that was Alex Golesh's contract at Arkansas was going to be 5 years, $35 million, $7 million per year. That's the deal, and that's what's going on, and that's what he either has or hasn't agreed to, and blah, blah, blah. That's a perfectly fine deal, Curtis. That is not the type of deal that you offer someone as like a Godfather offer of like, hey, we want to get this done immediately, and we don't want you to go into the weekend coaching your team and, maybe considering other things. That is like a first offer you send. I mean, that is literally less than Sam Pittman was making last year as Arkansas's head coach. He made a little bit more than $7 million per year. So you're offering your new coach, who you're expecting to come in and clean up Sam Pittman's mess, you are offering him less money than you were just giving to Sam Pittman. Listen, of course, like we've said all along, if that's the deal and he accepts it, cool. I will literally jump for joy and be like, holy cow, I can't believe they pulled that off. That is not the type of deal you offer someone if you are like trying desperately to get them to sign right away and get them to forget about everything else. And for me personally, it is as simple as that. Arkansas offered him a deal. He might take the deal. I hope he does. And maybe it ends up being a little bit different numbers, but it's like they are now in a position where they are going to be in negotiations. They are going to be competing with other schools. And I feel like based on the offer that was reported, that makes sense. Like if I'm Alex Golesh, I wouldn't have signed on the dotted line. I would have waited out. I would have waited and see if I can maybe get a couple more.
Exactly. And yes, Ryan, by the way, this is a live. So if you got questions or comments, make sure you throw them in the chat here. I know sometimes we pre-record these. That's usually when it's like an 11 a.m. kickoff. And so we'll do it on Friday and then put it out early Saturday morning. Well, we're live as can be, man. But no, you're absolutely right, Andrew. And so I saw that. I want to say it came from if like a South Florida reporter. I don't know if it was like their 24/7 guy who put it on their message board or something. But it came from the South Florida side, that 5 for 35. And yeah, when I see that, I think, okay, this sounds more to me like the starting points of negotiations. Like if you're Arkansas, you shoot low. Golesh's agent shoots high, and then you land somewhere in the middle. Just kind of the business 101 stuff there. I think about it in a couple different ways. One, he's the G5 coach who has done a great job, but it's not like he's taken them to back-to-back CFPs or whatever. So when I look at that, I would imagine he'll probably be on the lower end of SEC salaries. Like I think a guy like Summerall is probably going to command a little bit more. So I don't think it's crazy, although if he's your guy, I'm with you. Like you might have to put something a little bit better than that on the table to get him and to lock him up, especially when we've heard from other places that Arkansas is really hesitant about getting into any bidding wars. So that tells me you might be operating with a kind of a finite budget there. Like how much wiggle room do you actually have? Are you concerned about if some of these things fall the way that they potentially could, and an Ole Miss starts to get involved. We saw yesterday, that I can't remember who it was that put that out there. Was it Vanini maybe, or Vicini? I mean, I think it was him. One of the national reporters that said, "Hey, Florida has moved on from the Lane Kiffin idea. They're working on Sumrall. They've got Jed Fish over at Washington. Alex Golesh is a name to watch. It's like he's already connected there, and it makes you wonder. We talked about Auburn, for example. Well, let's say Sumrall doesn't go there because Ole Miss opens or Florida gives them a better offer. They get their butts kicked by Alabama today, and all of a sudden they're thinking, yeah, that DJ Durkin thing was cute, but maybe we do just need to get a completely fresh start. Do they open up that search and look in different directions? And then if Lane does leave and he does go to LSU, okay, let's say Sumrall says, yeah, I'm actually not going to go to Ole Miss, man. I'm going to go to Florida. Then where does Ole Miss look? Maybe someone with an offensive pedigree that can maybe pick up where Kiffin left off. So there are all those things to consider. And you're right, because if I'm Golesh on that side of things and I'm not blown away by the offer, and again, we're talking it out here. You know what I'm doing? We're not saying that he feels that way, but it's just the report on what the initial contract might have been. I would too. I would play the field. And if Arkansas is heating me up saying, hey, listen, we've got our backup plan and Kane Womack or whoever it is, you're our guy, but we can't sit and wait around for you. Like we've got to get this show on the road. Then if I'm him or his representation, I'm saying, okay, show me how you feel about that and show me in green stacks. And then we'll talk about it a little bit more.
Well, so Curtis, Wednesday night, after we had done the live, after the report had come out, after we'd kind of like figured out that this Alex Golesh thing, that was at least the most likely plan. What % chance on Wednesday night would you have given Alex Golesh to be the head coach at Arkansas?
Wednesday night?
Yeah, like Wednesday night after we had done the show, after the report had come out that morning, we had talked about it, we had sat on it for a while. Wednesday night, what would you have given the chance?
Oh,
pretty
man,
high,
80,
right?
Yeah, I was going to say 80 plus.
Yeah, I was thinking 80, 85, 90. And I think there are a lot of people who, by the way, agree with that and maybe would even go higher and be like, it's a 90. I've seen some people be like, it's 99% that he's going to be here, and we'll just see.
In the chat, we've got less than 20, 51%, 92% somebody else. Okay, so it's a mixed reaction. We've got battered dog syndrome going on here, but your point.
I'll just say, for the sake of this, I was on the same page with you where I was like, Wednesday night, I went to bed very much thinking Alex Golesh was eventually going to be Arkansas's head coach. And I thought it might play out Saturday, Sunday, but I thought he was going to be the head coach. And there are a lot of people, by the way, who are of the belief, like you were saying, that Hunter Yurachek does not do bidding wars. And matter of fact, I think even people close to the U of A have said that. He doesn't really like to do it. It's not something he wants to be involved in, and he will avoid it at all costs. And we've actually seen that play out before. I mean, the last coaching search did kind of play out that way. If you are of the belief that Hunter Yurachek will not involve himself in a bidding war, then we cannot agree anymore that the % chance is that high for Arkansas to get Alex Golesh. Not to say that he won't be the coach, or not to say that Alex Golesh won't just take their initial offer at the end of the day. Who knows? But it's like, I feel like if you're already admitting we're not doing the bidding war thing, we don't necessarily have a ton of money put into this thing, I think that's going to be really tough when you start competing with Florida and Ole Miss, because Ole Miss has kind of proven they will hemorrhage money. They will just absolutely take out a loan, not pay it back. They will absolutely hemorrhage money. That's what they've been doing for a while now to make their football program go. And, I understand why other schools wouldn't want to do that, but it's like when you're in a potential competition with schools that are willing to cut their arm open just to get their next coach, it's going to be tough to get a coach with just the bare minimum.
Yeah, and when you've proven that you're willing to hemorrhage money and you've been doing this song and dance with Lane Kiffin as long as you have, chances are, regardless of who Ole Miss goes and gets, assuming Lane Kiffin does leave, they're going to be saving some money moving forward. They're probably not going to have to pay as much as they were to Lane Kiffin right out of the gates. And they also have that demonstrated just proof of concept. Hey, we can support an SEC football program at a high level consistently on the NIL front. I got a couple more questions for you about this and, some of these strings that are attached to this Arkansas coaching search. But first, let's talk about insurance. You guys know I love to talk about insurance. Win or loss for these Razorback games, we talk about OZK every time. It's because nobody wants to deal with the hassle of shopping around. And that's why I use and recommend OZK Insurance, based right here in Arkansas, locally. Everybody loves that. Shout out Kane Womack. And they shop multiple carriers to find the best coverage and price for you, whether it's home, auto, business, you name it. whether it's Saturdays at Razorback Stadium, you got one more of those this year, or just your everyday life. You want protection that you can count on. With over 600 5-star Google reviews, you can count on OZK Insurance. Get a free online quote today at ozkinsurance.com or call 479-715-4200. It's OZK Insurance, protection made simple. You know, another thing to consider here with this stuff, Andrew, especially with these SEC openings, or even the Penn State opening, like Arkansas is not, they're not fishing in the same waters as Penn State, but with their search going the way that it has, they might have to be open to some different options, which then could make some other jobs, you know, enticing for the guys that you're looking at here. But some of these extensions that have been signed, I think are notable as well, because it felt like Drink over at Mizzou, who we're going to see today, was like the plan B for so many of these schools. You know, I know Auburn, he was on all their hot boards, even LSU under consideration, Florida early, all those SEC jobs. And then he signs that big extension on, I guess it was like Thanksgiving morning or something, or maybe it was Wednesday. But so he kind of comes off the board. Clark Lee, another one. You kind of thought it would be weird for Penn State to do that, given the James Franklin thing. It's like the exact same route, but he's a hot commodity. What he's done at Vanderbilt has been pretty impressive. And then boom, there's his extension. So that's two names that are hot commodities, a step above, I think, what you would say with these younger, unproven, but high upside G5 coaches there. They're off the board. So that makes those guys a little bit more on limits for some of these other schools. That's an interesting aspect of this too.
100%. You know, what's funny is we spent a lot of time during this coaching search, and I say we, the Arkansas fan base spent a lot of time during this coaching search doing a game where they were like, could we get Matt Campbell? Could we get Kenny Dillingham? Could we get whoever? And you're obviously not going to get anyone like that. That was obviously stupid for that. But those guys are going to factor into the decision, because you got to think about this from Arkansas's perspective. It would be in Arkansas's best interest for Florida to make a run at Matt Campbell. It would be in Arkansas's best interest for Ole Miss or LSU or someone like, or whoever doesn't end up with Lane Kiffin, to go after a Kenny Dillingham or someone like that. Because like you said, Penn State's not necessarily taken from the same pool as Arkansas. Florida, for the time being, isn't necessarily taken from the same pool as Arkansas. But if you guys say no, all of a sudden that could be the case. So if you're Arkansas and you really, want to get Alex Golesh, if you're of that, which by the way, not everybody is in that camp. There are a lot of Arkansas fans who do not want Alex Golesh. That's not the conversation I'm having right now. If you are of the belief, you're like, man, I really want to make sure we get Golesh and I don't want us to screw this up, you need to be cheering on Florida and Ole Miss and Auburn to have their sights set on higher and bigger, better things. Sumrall will probably account for one of those spots of he's either going to go to Florida or Ole Miss, it seems. But whoever is left, especially if it's Ole Miss, it would be in your best interest for them to have their sights set on something way bigger so that you could kind of sneak in right away. And I do think there is value in you being like Ole Miss. I don't know how much interest they've shown in Golesh. Arkansas clearly has been trying desperately to get Golesh. I think there's a chance Arkansas could maybe swoop in and get that if these other schools are still having their mindset on bigger and better things, which I do think is possible.
Yeah, for sure. So let me ask you this, because we've reached the fever pitch here. Arkansas season coming to an end today. There's a level of anticipation. Everybody wants to get this done. We hope. Right. And so we have to just keep prefacing the hypotheticals here, which is what we're doing, all the different ways this can play out. Hey, the easy way is that this goes the way that most people around here think it will, which is, yes, an agreement is in place and he wants to play out this game tonight with South Florida, finish their regular season. And then he's going to sit down, talk to his family and everything, put some ink on paper, and we make this thing official tomorrow. Great. That sounds easy. That sounds awesome to me. We're big Golesh fans around here. So let's do that. That's plan A. But how far into this waiting game, Andrew, do we need to get before you say, all right, we got to go to plan B, which is not really plan B. I mean, it'd be like plan G or something at this point. But how long are you comfortable waiting? Does it matter on the dominoes that fall here before you say, hey, you know what? Golesh, you're our guy, but we've just got to move on here. We could call Kane Womack and he would be in Fayetteville before he could even answer the phone. At what point do you get there? If you're Hunter Yurachek or if you're the U of A?
So I think if the Ole Miss job comes open today, which it does seem like that would be what is going to happen here, I don't want to just bow out at any point and just be like, all right, this is getting hard and I don't want to do it. But I think if you get to Monday or Tuesday, that would lead me to believe that the Golesh to Arkansas thing ain't happening. Like if it's Monday morning and Arkansas doesn't have a coach, I don't think, like, if Alex Golesh hasn't agreed to be your head coach, I don't know why he would now agree now that all these other jobs are open. And so it's like, if all these jobs come open and it does find out, all right, hey, we're in a little bit of a game here, I think it's a pretty quick clock on whether or not, like, if Arkansas is going to get him, it would happen pretty quickly for all the same reasons I just detailed. That I just don't think Arkansas is going to be the keep upping their offer, keep trying to sweeten the pot, and they're going to really go all in. They will half-ass it if you give them an opportunity. And so I don't know. Me personally, like, if I were in a leadership position, I would be inclined to just do everything I could, and so I would probably let that go even further. Like, I would go till Wednesday or Thursday and just keep upping the offer every time. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. And so if I'm an Arkansas fan mentally trying to process this, I think, but if we get to Monday and you don't have a head coach, like, I think it would be reasonable to assume you're probably not getting Golesh.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too.
Especially because it's been reported that he's making his decision on Sunday.
Yeah,
he's going to play Saturday and he'll make his decision on Sunday. So it's like, if he makes that decision Sunday and it's not you, you know what I mean? I don't think it's going to become you later in the week.
Right. And I think the U of A, for all intents and purposes, is planning on doing the whole song and dance early next week. So, like, they want to get this done no matter who it is.
You know how the U of A is. As soon as they feel even the slightest hint of adversity, they're out completely. It's like when you invite your little 3-year-old brother to play the game with you and he plays it for like 2 minutes and he's like, this is stupid, I hate this. And he's like, walks off. That's pretty much what the U of A is like getting ready to do here.
Yes. Yes, that's 100% true, man. All right, folks, we're going to move over to your chats. But before we do, we got to tell you about your new Arkansas hangout. It's Goat Lab Red in Fayetteville. It's the place to be for Razorback pre and post game. Stop by Oak Plaza on North Garland and get you some of the best brews and signature burgers around. Sip on some of those Goat Lab brews, man. They got the Razorback, the Tusk Light. Shout out Dudley Dawson. Grab a signature burger today and then come back on a Sunday for all you can eat pancakes and your choice of 2 Goat Lab brews or 2 mimosas for just $16. See you Saturday at Goat Lab Red, your new Arkansas game day tradition. Okay, let's see what's going on in the chat. Some people right away, even though we said it like 7 times, didn't know that we were actually live here. So,
to be fair, I mean, we've done these not live before, but like you said, it just logistically made sense. To be fair, we thought about it. We were like, I mean, there's just no real way to do it. Back when these really were pregame shows and all the stuff we talk about on the show, we could talk about pre-recorded. We knew this was going to be just a coaching search Q&A, and so might as well. There's no way to do this not live.
Right. Throw them in there, however you feel about all this. I'm guessing I don't know who started this one, but I'll pull it up here and we can bring it up. John Hamm says, "Hey fellas, your Discord is ran by cultish losers. Got kicked out yesterday for suggesting I put more weight in national reporters saying Golesh hasn't made a decision than the insiders on the Discord."
So I've been meaning to publicly, and we talk about the Discord all the time. We reference it and we whatever, and we hop in there from time to time and we chop it up and all that. And there's a lot of people on that Discord that I love. I want to make that clear. Like, there's a lot of people that are normal, good, red-blooded Razorback fans that just love the Hogs and are having fun and are just there to talk ball. But the Discord, in my opinion, has devolved into brain rot, shit posting, like weird. I mean, I don't know. Cultish is the term he used. It's a weird, very weird. I don't know. If you're looking to like actually talk ball and like have a conversation, the Discord is not the place to go. Now,
it's been challenging lately, that's for sure.
Certainly not. And I mean, I don't know how to say this next part without sounding mean. Like, there is also just people in that Discord who just outright make things up and put them out there, and then it becomes common, an accepted thing of like, oh well. Poop score 14 said that this happened. So now we're operating as if that's a real thing. And so it's like, you can get in there and you could just be like, hey, like, the sky is blue. And then someone will be like, well, Rabbit Squirrel 14 said that the sky is actually maybe a little bit of a pinkish color. It's like, okay. So it's like, it's really hard to have conversations in there. And I just feel bad. I feel bad for people like John Hamm who just want to talk ball and get in there and are like, oh, hey, it might not be a done deal with Golesh, and people are like, nah, come on, man, shut up. It really is like a very weird culture they have going on in there.
Yeah, it does get contentious in there at times, especially right now when emotions are running so high with everything and people just so their heels are dug in with their stances and how they feel about stuff. But like there's misinformation that goes around in there. It's like any other message board. The only difference is like this one's not behind a paywall, so anyone can join. And I know that gets hard to police because despite what some people believe, like our name is on it or whatever, but I don't have time to police that thing every single day. And we've got some folks that we know and trust and have been friends with for a long, long time who do a great job over there and provide some really, really good inside information that we appreciate. But it's that thing is a bear to deal with. So I hope that you didn't get banned for that. Now, did you start throwing a bunch of, insults at somebody or whatever happened there? I don't know, but I would say the best course of action if you're trying to get back in or you don't know what's going on, DM John Neighbors.
Definitely do that. Anytime you have a grievance to air out, just DM John Neighbors, frankly.
Yeah.
You know who I actually blame though, Curtis? I blame our close personal friend Stinky Pinky because he went on a hunting trip for a couple days. And he's usually, you want to talk about policing, he's like I would say he's the top dog over there of like making sure things don't get too crazy. He goes and hunts for 2 days and all of a sudden just all hell breaks loose.
Yeah. And I think the tough part about it over there too is if you're in there, if you're around there enough, some of the folks who have like everybody has their own shticks, right? And some people are funny and some people are sarcastic or they've kind of made a thing out of, I'm going to put out this fake stuff here and it's just going to get a laugh out of people. Well, then others come in there and they're automatically like, oh, this is real. And so then panic ensues and people get mad and it's just, it's
said as a joke one time, Curtis, that you were roommates with Eric Morris.
I didn't even say that. It was the funniest thing about it because it's when like I had it on good authority that there were folks who work at the U of A that were saying, hey, Eric Morris he's the guy. He's going to be the guy. And so I just threw it out there and I was like, hey, heard from a little birdie that Eric Morris might be the flavor of the week next week. Like he's one to keep an eye on. And I just mentioned his name a couple times and somebody was like, boy, Curtis keeps bringing up Eric Morris. He must know something. I'm like, yeah, it's not that we're old roommates, but if I'm posting this dude's name, it's because I've heard some things, you know what I mean? And then like a month later, somebody was like, well, how can we believe anything Curtis says if he said he was roommates with Eric Morris? That's not what I said. And then also, come on, what are we talking about? And they were yelling at you about it. So anyway,
yeah, no, it was good stuff. I will say, I know you touched on it just there, but like if Eric Morris had been the head coach at Arkansas, y'all know how much more convenient that would have been for me and for you, I would imagine, of just like, we have way quicker paths to Eric Morris than we do any of these other guys.
I know, which, by the way, since we're talking about all this, I just got a text message from a buddy that said, I guess Thamel was on College Game Day or whatever.
A chat that said that and confirmed it. Let's go ahead and talk about that.
Okay, good. Yeah, that I guess Thamel said that if Lane Kiffin does leave Ole Miss, thank you. Okay, yeah, Pete Thamel just said if Kiffin goes to LSU, Golesh is #1 target of Ole Miss. Oh, shit. Okay, I didn't realize that.
#1 target.
The message that I received said that Golesh would be a target for Ole Miss, Arkansas, and Auburn, I think is.
Yes, that was what I read on Twitter from our guy JC Hoops, who I don't.
Okay.
He said, she said, whatever. It was on game day. I'm sure tons of people in the chat were listening.
So,
I don't think the terminology #1 target was used. I could be wrong. Again, y'all watched me. I've been sitting here during this entire time. But yeah, he confirmed what we already knew, but like, that's what we've been alluding to this whole time of like, the idea that Arkansas was going to swoop in and hire Alex Golesh, the fact that it's not done right now really sucks. Let's just say that.
Dude, if Kiffin does leave today and if Golesh is waiting and he's announcing a decision tomorrow, folks aren't going to sleep.
No, nor should you. Should you. Which is why, by the way, if you're a fan right now, if you're a Razorback fan right now and you like feel burned and you're like, man, I feel like someone lied to me and I feel like I was misled during this situation, take it up with the person who lied to you. Because I feel like, we're talking about the Discord. A lot of what we do here on this show is fight against misinformation, where a lot of times we're just talking ball and people will come in and say, well, so-and-so said this. And then we have to answer for it. And I'm tired of answering for it, frankly. You know what I mean? Because I know that as soon as if Golesh ends up agreeing to terms with Ole Miss, I know our next live stream is going to be filled with, but thought it was a done deal with Golesh. Thought that it was, but we didn't say that. Don't come and yell at us about that. We were not the ones who said that.
We're the sounding board for everybody out there. I wish I'd have seen some of these that we started before we talked about it. But Heartbroken Hog, we appreciate you being in here, buddy. He says, "What are y'all's thoughts on Drink and Clark Lee both signing extensions to stay? I thought for sure at least one of them would leave for Penn State or Florida." Yeah, I thought both of those guys were, especially early on in those conversations at Penn State, and then it just seemed like one of the two was always the next man up for wherever Lane Kiffin didn't go. And that's why we're in the situation where we are now today, where Pete Thamel's saying, hey, if Lane leaves Ole Miss, watch out for Alex Golesh at every school in the SEC. So had Drink not signed that extension and he was still out there and available, or if Florida was still operating under the delusion that they'd be able to get Clark Lee, then we might not feel as uneasy, if you believe anything that comes from a national reporter's mouth. Because like when Thamel put his list out there during the game last week, everybody immediately said he was an idiot and threw it all out the window. And well, here we are, a week later. So it's interesting how that's all gone down. I think when we hear things that we like to hear or that we're hopeful for, that would be the case, we're a lot more apt to saying, okay, yeah, that sounds like good information. But if you've been operating this entire coaching search going, yeah, they're going to take a swing, man. They're going to do the John Calipari thing. They might have missed on Franklin, but they've got that $13 million or whatever people were putting out there to give to somebody else. And then you hear those names, you're like, there ain't no way. That's crazy. There's no way this is going to happen. So I understand why people get to feeling that way. Believe Thamel. Don't believe Thamel. Believe us. Believe insiders. Believe Trey Biddy. Do whatever you want to do. I'm not telling anybody how to feel about this anymore. I don't know for sure how this is going to end up.
100%. And I hope that's important that you said that, because that's something we've never pretended to do. Like we talk about things and we give our predictions, we give our predictions, whether it's a game, whether it's whatever. If you ask us right now for a prediction, we'll give you a prediction, but it's like, we have never pretended to be like, hey, this is for sure. We know this is going to happen. That's when you know someone's lying to you. When there's like this huge thing that has a bunch of variables that are up in the air and they're telling you, no, I know exactly how this is about to play out. I mean, Curtis, I literally, Wednesday night, we did this whole Alex Golesh thing. By Wednesday night, I saw people, quote unquote, reporting what the budget was going to look like for Alex Golesh. They were like, yeah, he's going to have $12 million for the offense. He's going to have $10 million for the defense. I'm just like, where did you pull that number? And by the way, even if he were hired and the deal was done and like he was on staff and had been on campus for a month, we still wouldn't know the budget for the roster. Nobody knows the budget for the roster. Ask any Alabama reporter, hey, what's their budget for Alabama's roster? No one's going to tell you an answer, because that would be stupid. Again, when there's something with so many variables, if someone is trying to tell you the actual, like, oh yeah, this is the number. I've seen the spreadsheet. This is the number. That person is full of crap, dude. It's crazy that people say that. And like people also are like, damn, I guess Arkansas has $100 million now. Damn, that's awesome.
I hope they do.
But to answer, by the way, to answer the prompt from Heartbroken Hog, I'm more surprised by Drink than I am Clark Lee. Clark Lee's the guy that like people would bring up, and I'm just like, why would he leave Vanderbilt? I know that Vanderbilt's not like a historic program, but it's like, if I went to my alma mater and turned them into a power, there's no way I would leave that. You know what I mean? Like, and I think people always just assume that these people are dying to leave their alma maters. Like Dillingham, people are just like, oh, he's dying to get out of there. I'm like, maybe he is, and maybe he'll eventually leave. People do leave their alma maters, but it's like, are we sure he's dead set on that? Brent Key, are we sure he's like just dying to get out of Georgia Tech? Clark Lee, I know Drink, his alma mater is not Missouri. He's separate. That's why I'm more surprised by him signing an extension.
Yeah, I'm with you. David says, get ready to welcome your new coach, Kane Womack. I think pretty much everyone presumes at this point that if the Alex Golesh thing didn't work out, that he would be just kind of the logical. At that point, it's like, okay, you got to get somebody in here. I know that doesn't sound great, but we got to get this show on the road and move on. Alabama defensive coordinator, played at Arkansas. We know the whole story with him. Does that change your timeline of waiting? It sounds like Golesh is making his decision tomorrow anyway, but would you just immediately go there? Let's say, heaven forbid, that we wake up tomorrow and Golesh is like, I'm going to Ole Miss, whatever. Do you have Womack announced by the end of the day, or do you give it 24, 48 hours, make some more of those big swing calls and see what you can do? Or if you're just like, hey, We know this dude. We know he wants to be here. Let's just get it done.
So the reason I wouldn't right away move on to that is because, and I promise I'm not saying this to put anyone down, and I'm not saying this to like, knock anybody. There are literally 0 schools in this country that are trying to hire Kane Womack. And that's not an exaggeration. Like literally you can look at every single coaching hot board you want. You can look at every single rumor report, every single list, every single whatever, here's our backup plan, here's our whatever. There is not one single program in the college football.
So he's there whenever,
maybe a lower, at least in the SEC. All right, I won't be dramatic. At least in the SEC, there are no SEC schools trying to hire Kane Womack. So frankly, and that's not to say that Arkansas shouldn't hire him. I'm just saying, like, I would wait it out, because you should be able, if you're Arkansas, frankly, you should be able to get Kane Womack whenever you want. He played at the U of A. He's from the state of Arkansas. He's the DC at Alabama, and he's getting a lot of love for that. But I don't think he's a super hot coaching commodity. Whereas like Golesh is obviously in the mix with other guys. He's being interviewed by other places. He's being reached out to by other places. He's maybe the contingency plan for other places. So there's a lot more competition, and it's like I don't know. I'm not saying Kane Womack would just come whenever, but I think you kind of have that. If you're Arkansas, that's like you're in your back pocket a lot. Now, that can change, obviously. You don't want to wait around too long. And so I would, keep in mind all of these things. Like, I'd be aware, but I wouldn't just give up on Golesh immediately until he signs on the dotted line somewhere else. I'm inclined to keep fighting in the Golesh sweepstakes, personally.
Yeah, you and me both. Butcher Boy 44 says, after everything this season, I kind of want Bobby to win and go out with a dub, but God, these Bobby is the only answer. Fans make it hard to root for him. Listen,
this is the most true chat I have ever read in my life.
People are passionate about Petrino, man. Yeah.
It's like you want to have fun and you want to like cheer for him to get, by the way, his first win. You want that to happen. You want him to go out on a happy note, but then you're also like, damn, are like stupid people going to use this as like ammo to to convince me he should be the head coach? Like that's kind of where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Hope he gets it done today.
I just want you to know we have chats that are asking me to take my shirt off, Curtis. So if I do take my shirt off, it's not because I just chose to do it. It's because I was asked.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even question it.
Okay.
I wouldn't even made a face, nothing. We'll just keep going about our business. Nips free, man. Why not? David says there are too many ways in which Golesh goes elsewhere, and I think we piss him off with the league. And there's so many conspiracy theories out there with that. Some think, hey, Trey Schapp just got some information and, maybe it was premature at the time or whatever, but he's put it out there like, dang, I could break this. Some people think that, Bobby found out that he wasn't getting the job and got pissed, and that, maybe him and Frank Fletcher leaked it to Schapp and he put it out there. Some people think Hunter Yurachek was using, Trey Schapp as a surrogate leaker to gauge the reaction from the fan base. Some people think that it was Golesh's camp that put it out there to see what it looked like on that end. There's so many different conspiracy theories out there as to how that leak went down. So I know there was some thought, I guess it was Wednesday night, where some people were saying, hey, like, it's hearing that Golesh is super pissed about this getting out there and this could really impact things and all that. If he's mad about, this type of stuff getting out there to the point where he's not going to take the job, he was never going to take the job anyway, or he never wanted it for sure anyway. You know what I mean? Because that's the nature of the business, man. That stuff gets out there, things get leaked. People have been talking about how this has been the most tightly kept coaching search in the history of coaching searches, and still had a leak like this come out there in the midnight hour. It happens everywhere, man. And Alex Golesh knows that. His agents know that. I would be very surprised if it was actually a situation where he was like, you know what? I said the word can't get out of this before I coach against Rice. Now I'm out. That's the type of petty stuff that would make me not really care if he was out. And I just don't believe that's the case, for the record.
I would definitely agree with that sentiment, that I don't think the Trey Schapp report in and of itself would be enough to dissuade him and be like, all right, now I'm out. So I don't think that's what happened. Could he have maybe had some reservations already? And then maybe the report and it getting leaked, maybe pushed him over the edge. But I'm with you that, like, if that's the reason, then like, okay, cool. Like, you weren't really that locked in. Fair enough. Right. I definitely agree with that. My only thing, I guess, would be, I think there's a reason why Alex Golesh doesn't like it getting out. And it's because if he ends up going to Arkansas, like we always say, Hunter Yurchek's going to go to that press conference and say, this was the only guy we offered the job to. And Alex Golesh is going to say, this is the only school I thought about coming to. And this was the only job I would have left for. It's going to be a lot harder now for him to do that because it is now, one, come out that he may or may not have had an agreement, may or may not have whatever. Now it's like, oh yeah, we don't have an agreement because he's waiting on the Ole Miss thing, which in and of itself, like if that was a thing that nobody knew about, Alex Golesh waiting to see how the Ole Miss job played out before he took the Arkansas job isn't that bad of a thing. But now that it's been leaked that he was like, oh yeah, he's going to go to Arkansas. Oh, wait a minute. No, he's not going to Arkansas because he's waiting for Ole Miss. Now it's going to look tougher for him if he does end up going to Arkansas, because now we're going to know you didn't really want to come here. You just waited and then you found your other choices. So I think there's something to that, but I'm with you that like, if that is what it was that like scared him off, then like, okay, you know, and by the way, it's not a crime to be scared off by the Arkansas head coaching vacancy. I mean, we've seen hundreds of people doing it.
That's very true. Hey, we appreciate the super chat in here. I should have got to that earlier. I just saw it. Appreciate you, Chandler. He said, is there any stock in his wife being from Arkansas? Maybe that could help him sign on the dotted line. Of course. Yeah.
Of course. It's just a matter of if that is 1% or 90% of the equation. Right. And I really don't know. I don't know how much of a wife guy Alex Golesh is.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know the inner workings of that relationship, although it was funny to me that nobody had heard anything at all about, you know, Golesh in Arkansas. And, you know, over the course of like a week until Shat put that out there. And then by mid-afternoon, everyone's like, well, here are the inner workings of the conversations happening at Alex Golesh's kitchen table regarding taking the Arkansas job or staying at South Florida. I'm hearing that while they were eating their Thanksgiving turkey, that the conversation was about, you know, Rogers or Springdale or right in Fayetteville. Where are we going to? And it's like, how the hell does everybody know this now?
Yeah. And where the hell was that before? Why on Tuesday were you not even reporting it at all?
Yeah, it's funny stuff, man. But anyway, appreciate you, Chandler. Beast Mode says Florida fans are in meltdown mode with the thought of Sumrall. If Ole Miss hires him, there's no way they'll let Strickland hire Golesh.
This is very important information, and this is a great comment, and I think this is true because did you see that yesterday of like when Florida started being murmured about Sumrall, their fans were going crazy, like on Twitter. And like, listen, Arkansas fans do this sometimes too. Is that really the accurate representation of the fan base? I don't know, but I think if you're like hesitant to get on board with Sumrall, are you going to be super on board with Alex Golesh? So I do think there's something to this, and I do think like if we're, you got to know your enemies. You got to know in order to beat, the enemies, you got to know who they are. I do think it's important to note that Ole Miss is way more of a threat for Alex Golesh for this reason, in my opinion, that like Ole Miss has never said anything weird. I mean, hell, they hired Lane Kiffin from FAU, which is an objectively worse small school in Florida than South Florida. I mean, South Florida literally beats them every year. And so it's like, I do think there's something to this. And so it's like, if Sumrall winds up going to Florida, I think that's actually a worse development for Arkansas than if Sumrall goes to Ole Miss. That Agreed. Should maybe be what Arkansas's aiming here is like, Sumrall, please go to Ole Miss. I'm begging you, go to Ole Miss.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Let's see. And so there, like you said, just because Golesh is the most likely name to wind up at Arkansas with everything that's happened the last couple of days, it doesn't mean that everybody's unanimously in favor of it. We see Dr. Sharp here says, no Alex Golesh. We need an Arkansas boy. After it looks like Arkansas kicked Coach Petrino out, my man now is Kane Womack. At least he's from Arkansas, and he played football for us. Pastor Bill. I
want to correct the record. Before we respond, I want to correct the record that Arkansas did not and will not kick Bobby Petrino out. That's not an accurate representation of what happened.
He had a more clear path to the job than anyone else out there.
They gave him the head coaching position mid-season, which I know, interim coach, you hand it to people all the time. They literally made him the head coach of the Arkansas Razorback football team for 3 months. And they said when they released the statement that they were firing Sam Pittman, he was the first name that they mentioned as a candidate. They literally said, hey, we're firing Sam Pittman. And then in the next sentence, they were like, Petrino will be the interim, and we are considering him for head coach. Now, we can argue about how legit that was. Were they ever really considering him? I don't know. They gave him the head coaching position, and he won 0 football games with it. So
Yeah.
if Bobby Petrino does not wind up being the head coach at Arkansas, make no mistake, that is why. It would be whenever we gave him the head coaching position and he won 0 games, that would be why. Now, you don't have to be happy about it, but you at least have to understand how it happened. So to say that Arkansas kicked Petrino out is a very incorrect recollection of how this went down. They gave him the head coaching job and were like, hey, if you do a good enough job, we'll let you keep it. And then he won 0 football games. Is it his fault that they won 0? Is it because of the defense? Blah, blah, blah. I don't know. That is what happened. And you can feel however you want to feel about it. But to just say like, oh, yeah, Arkansas, they didn't give Petrino a chance. No, they gave him like maybe the clearest chance you could possibly give someone.
Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about it. Peyton, appreciate you, buddy. Hope Thanksgiving was good for you and yours. And we're looking forward to being out at Blue Ember on Wednesday ahead of the Arkansas-Louisville game. He says there will be 2 or 3 sitting P4 coaches that take other jobs that we aren't even considering at this time. I do believe that we will be surprised by something. It's so weird. Like, what the hell is going on over there at Penn State? Are they really just going to hire Bob Chesney and be done with it? That might be their best move to make, but you fired a guy like James Franklin, so everybody's expecting an upgrade, something different there. Like, yes, somebody out there is going to surprise us, and then when that happens, it's going to open something else, in which case there might be a domino where that second P4 coach is like, wait, this is open now? Yeah, cool. And jump in there. So I think you might be onto something. There's going to be at least a couple coaches that are on the move out there where we're like, oh, dang, I didn't see that coming, and it really shakes things up. And it's a lot of stirring the pot, on social media, but there were a lot of, national talking heads and college football analysts and everything doing the whole, wow, it's just based on what I'm hearing, the next 24 hours on this coaching carousel, so it's going to be unlike anything we've ever seen. Mm-hmm. Well, everybody's been anticipating the Lane Kiffin stuff for months now. So it's almost like there's something else going on, right?
I'm glad you said that because I've heard a lot of people doing that where they're like, this is going to be, I just found out where Lane Kiffin's going. It's going to be crazy.
It's like DeBoer leaves for Penn State right away and then Kiffin goes to Bama or something.
No, I mean, like I'm definitely, and I think that would fall into the category of what Peyton is alluding to here. I've noticed that as well, where it's like, if you're guaranteeing that we're all going to be stunned, it reminds me of when Bobby Bones put out the tweet and he was like, I know who Arkansas's next head coach is going to be. And it's a guy none of you have ever heard of. And we were like, oh, crap. So it's like someone we've never heard of. It's not Alex Golesh. It's not whatever. Turns out he was referencing freaking Alex Golesh, who he had interviewed and was like, oh, people don't know about this guy. It's like, dude, we know about this guy. And so I wonder if that's maybe college football reporters who are just like, oh, no one will see Lane Kiffin at LSU coming. So that's why I'm saying you're going to be stunned tomorrow. And it's like, I don't think that's – I hope that's what it is. But I don't know. I'm here for the chaos.
Yes, yeah, you and me both. Okay, we'll run through a few more chats here pretty quickly. We're already an hour in, which this is just what happens when me and Andrew get going. But then we'll quickly do some of our best bets over at Bet Saracen, and we'll get out of here. But Dr. Sharp, all right, you had me on the last one. Now he says Barry Odom, head coach, Bobby Petrino back as OC. We just need a great defensive coordinator.
All I want to say here is I just want to point out that would be you would be hiring a 2-10 head coach and then having the other 2-10 head coach join him.
Yeah.
That is a plan that if you want to do, you want to talk about competition. Yeah, you want to talk about competition and other schools maybe taking your guy and throwing a wrench in your plan. That is a plan that I can assure you 0 schools will get in the way of. Every single school in the country would be like, please, Arkansas, by any means, do that. Yeah. Including Purdue, by the way. Purdue would drive Barry Odom to the airport. That's a fact.
Yes, they absolutely would. Seth says, I don't know why people are so against Womack.
I don't think
but it is kind of a split crowd. I mean, like we just saw there, Golesh, who's this, this dude from Russia. What the hell? Get us an Arkansas boy. So there's a segment that feels that way. There's a segment that's like, no way, we can't go the coordinator route after, everything that's gone on here. Some people are saying G5, it's just unacceptable. It's got to be a Power 4 head coach. Everybody feels some type of way about it. But yeah, I don't think that there is a unanimously favorably viewed candidate in this search for Arkansas. Certainly not as we kind of wind things down here. There will be people that are ticked off about how this ends, no matter what.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that there are people that are against Womack. There are people that are against Golesh. There are people that are against whoever. Most of them fall under the same umbrella. I think a lot of the people that are anti-Golesh are, anti-Golesh because they thought Arkansas was getting Kenny Dillingham, or they love Bobby Petrino and they thought that was happening. And so they're anti-Golesh just because it's like what they thought they were getting something way cooler. And so a lot of those guys, of course, would also be anti-Kane Womack. And I'm not saying dismiss those, but I do think most of the people who are very out on Golesh and Womack are guys that, again, thought Arkansas was going to do way better and just simply don't know who these guys are. Like haven't been following college football, haven't done a quick Wikipedia search to see what the resume looks like. And I'm not saying they're going to do it and then be obsessed with them, but it's like most of the people that are anti-Golesh and anti-Womack are just people that thought Arkansas was going to hire like Matt Campbell.
Yeah, that's right. Ryan, this is interesting. He says, so how many guys have we missed on? Lashley, Franklin, Morris, possibly Golesh. How many times has Arkansas been lockered in the last 2 searches? How does Hunter Yurachek still have a job? A lot of that we just don't know for sure. It depends on what reporting you believe. Here's what we know for a fact. Whoever Arkansas hires will be the only one that they offer the job to. That's the way that it always is in terms of the conversations in the aftermath. Lashley, those dots have been connected for a long, long time. It's interesting to me that there was all that stuff out there at the beginning of the year of how he was trying to work behind the scenes to railroad Sam Pittman because he wanted that job. And we never really know if that got anywhere because he quickly signed that extension over at SMU. Does that mean you missed on him? Does that mean you got lockered by him? Did you ever present him with a big offer or whatever? I don't even know. The James Franklin stuff, he was a target for Arkansas. I just don't know how reciprocal that interest was. I have no doubt that Arkansas would have loved to have James Franklin as its new head coach, but as he looked at Arkansas' situation and Virginia Tech's situation, was it ever a situation where he really felt like, oh boy, I've got a tough decision to make here, and then he chose Virginia Tech or they won a bidding war over Arkansas? That's how you get lockered in a situation. With Eric Morris, it depends on who you ask, because there's a lot of people out there under the belief that he was a primary target for Arkansas, and they did have an offer on the table for him, and he was pursued heavily. And then there were others that believed, no, it was a smokescreen, it was fake news, and it was Golesh the whole time. So who the hell knows? They could have been lockered a half dozen times here. They could have been lockered 0 times here. I really don't know. It just depends on who you believe.
It's well said.
Thank you. A couple more super chats. The Bionic Pig, thank you, says Florida and LSU, unlike Arkansas, are not interested in having their boosters and fan base revolt with an offer to a G5 coach.
I would agree with this. And I think this is supposed to indicate that like Arkansas shouldn't be offering G5 coaches. And I don't necessarily agree with that sentiment, but I do agree that like LSU and Florida aren't pulling from the same pool as Arkansas, and so they would kind of fall into that category of like, I'm not necessarily worried. Florida maybe a little bit, but I don't think Florida's going to hire Alex Golesh, frankly. And I don't think LSU would even consider hiring Alex Golesh. Now, again, Arkansas is just in a very different situation. So that's not my way of saying like Arkansas is stupid for hiring Alex Golesh. I just think Arkansas is in a very different circumstance where hiring a group of 5 guy kind of does make sense for Arkansas. Their fan bases, I know for a fact, would not respond well to that, especially because if you're Florida, you just fired a small school group of 5 guy that couldn't cut it in the SEC. It's going to be really hard to hire another one right after that, especially after you just fired one. And, there's been group of 5 guys that have success that don't, but it's like usually you don't see schools hire. Like if Arkansas hired another offensive line coach had it not been a head coach, we would all collectively be like, what the hell? What happened there? You rarely see schools fire someone and then hire someone who fits that exact same criteria. And so, for LSU, maybe they wouldn't go get, someone that's why I didn't think LSU was going to hire James Franklin. Cause I'm like, that's pretty similar to the Brian Kelly hire, frankly.
Yeah.
And so Florida, I think it's the same with Billy Napier.
Yep. I agree. Razorback Fever says, good Lord, Andrew, do you live in a monochromatic world?
Well, that's funny. Well, one, because I wear red a lot, so cool. But it's funny, Curtis. You remember when people used to get on us because we didn't wear hog stuff enough? Mm-hmm. Where people would be always like, do Curtis and Andrew like own any hog gear? Like what the hell's going on? Just because, we had our hint of like objective journalism, professionalism, and all that. So I am happy now that it's gone from you don't own any hog gear to all you own are red clothing, which,
right.
The second one is a lot closer to being true.
Yeah, exactly. Just in case anybody was wondering. Oh, There's pig on the shirt.
Oh, yeah, there you
Okay,
go.
yeah, we're good here.
I don't like this alternate Razorback logo.
Oh man. Last one, and this is I'm glad that Heartbroken Hog brought this up. He said, "Do y'all think Gruden's going to get a job this cycle? I can see him going to USF when Golesh leaves." Not the craziest thing in the world. I've seen some talk about that. That seems like an interesting landing spot for a guy like Gruden to me. The one G5 school who's getting ready to be fully funded from a revenue share standpoint. They've got a lot of money over there, a lot of resources. They call their athletic director a CEO. Like it's almost like the new wave type of G5 school. And they are kind of positioning themselves from a resource standpoint of being maybe that next power type of program over there. And one of those spots, in the CFP remains open to teams like that. So that is interesting. I'm sure Gruden is going to be a name that's brought up heavily over there, especially given his locale with Tampa and everything. But so let's say Alex Golesh goes to Arkansas and Gruden goes to South Florida. Are there going to be people out there that were like, South Florida got the better coach?
Yeah, I'm with you. I do, this is a very interesting idea, especially just because I know John Gruden obviously spent a lot of time in the southern portion of Florida. I have a hard time believing John Gruden would take a job like that. But I don't know. Maybe he did. Maybe he, was hoping to take a SEC job and realized, oh, there's no way he gets an SEC job. So maybe that is a good, would be a good way for him to go there for a year or two and, figure out how college football works, figure out how NIL works, figure out how recruiting works, because he's never done any of that. It actually, as we're sitting here talking about it, I've talked myself in. I think John Gruden's going to South Florida.
That would be insane, man. Okay. Oh, wait, we got one more super chat. Okay. Shout out to Michelle for that. Kingsley says Lane Kiffin not knowing the 3-6 reference, which that whole deal was
the hoe to the housewife thing.
The hoe to the housewife thing. Yes.
Well, it's funny because I saw, I guess somebody called it. Who else? There's a lot of rappers that have said
triple. Somebody was like, "Oh, it's a 666 Mafia." It's just funny hearing all the people.
Yeah, I like that. But I feel like, but say, who do we actually attribute the hoe to a housewife thing to? Because I feel like everyone said it at some point, but it's like, who's the OG?
I don't know who the OG is because a lot of people were throwing Ludacris in there.
Yeah, I saw Ludacris a lot too, and I thought Ludacris. I was like, that doesn't seem like Ludacris. Doesn't feel like the guy who would invent a trend,
right? I think 3-6.
Yeah, maybe it is 3-6 Mafia.
Yeah, I think 3-6 is fair. No,
can we agree that kid is an absolute squid?
Yes, we can.
Like, I don't think Lane Kiffin. I saw a bunch of people being like, "Oh, Lane Kiffin is so butthurt about a 3-6 Mafia quote." It's like, I really don't think that's what it is. I think Lane Kiffin just knows this guy's been talking crap. And I'm here right next to him face to face. I can make him look like a moron right now by just getting in his face, which is what happened, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think
I've never seen a kid freeze up like that.
That was tough.
And then he was on there, put his hand on Kiffin's shoulder, and then when he realized Kiffin was angry, he stopped and was like, and he just stopped there. It was crazy. And then he went on Twitter and was like, "Ha ha ha, Lane Kiffin." I'm like, no, dude, you look like an asshole there.
And he was on their post game show or whatever, and he was like, "Ain't nobody scared of no Lane Kiffin." You look pretty scared to me, bud.
Face to face with him, and you were scared. We saw it on video, bro. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and I guess he did walk in the press conference and followed up on it, or whatever. Did you see that? Where he was like,
"I did see that.
It's not about being a hoe. It's about loyalty." It's like, who is this? I don't know, man.
It's no different than if you're driving by and some high school kid calls you, the P word or whatever. You're not really offended by that terminology. You're just like, how are you going to say that to me? Why are you and you get out of the car. You're like, hey, would you like to say that to my face? I felt like it was one of those things. I know he talked about the hoe thing. I have a hard time believing Lane Kiffin has actually been out of shape over the lyric.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that was pretty weird. Let's get into some of our bets, prop plays for this this game, because they are playing football at 2:30. Obviously over at Bet Saracen. Hey, check out Bet Saracen's no strings attached special where new users can bet 25 and get $125 instantly. All you got to do is download the Bet Saracen app on your Apple or Android device and use code INSIDEAR to get $125 instantly when you bet your first 25. It's Bet Saracen, Arkansas's #1 sports betting app. This is if we're giving out gambling advice or whatever here, this is a tough one, man, because we don't know for sure who's going to be the quarterback. We don't know who cares. It's rainy, it's windy, it's a weird game. It's not even one of those situations where you can go, oh, well, if you're thinking about the future, maybe you throw some coin on some of these young guys. Like, oh, why wouldn't they go with KJ Jackson? The coaching staff's not even going to be here. So like, I just have no idea what to do. So some of these things make me nervous. I did want to throw the first thing out here, and then I know you probably got some that you want to share with us, but they've got the player specials, Missouri at Arkansas, the first Arkansas touchdown scorer. And so without even looking at those, just tell me who you think is going to score the first touchdown for Arkansas. I'll tell you what the odds are there.
So, I mean, I'm sure Mike Washington is the chalk here.
He is plus 220.
I would go Mike Washington, even though it's probably at like plus 250.
Yeah, it's plus 220 for Mike Washington. He's got by far the best odds there. Omega Blake is at plus 375. Taylon Green, obviously that would need to be a carry or catching a pass at plus
Omega
350.
Blake, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying he quit on the team.
Where you been, bro?
Where have you been? Him being plus 375 is like, I know he has, if you look at his career or his season numbers, he's having a great year. We've been about 4 weeks now of Omega Blake being mega checked out.
Yeah.
And so I don't think he's going to catch a touchdown pass.
Yeah, I don't either. Here's what's interesting to me about this. By the way, no touchdown score for Arkansas, plus 2250, in case you were wondering about that. But I look at the tight ends, and I feel like Jaden Platt's kind of supplanted Rohan in the last couple of weeks. Jaden Platt being your first touchdown scorer, plus 1750, and then Rohan Jones is at plus 900. So I
might bet both of them, frankly.
Yeah.
Well, do they have do you have either of those guys for anytime touchdown?
Let's see. That was first anytime touchdown first quarter. Platt 1500, Rohan plus 1,000.
I don't like that one as much because I'd be actually livid if I bet on that and then he scored a touchdown in the second quarter.
Yeah. Are you feeling 2 touchdowns for anybody? Mike Washington's only plus 400 for 2 tutties.
Who's?
Mike Washington.
Mike Washington plus 400 for 2 tutties. I actually am a little bit intrigued by that. By the way, Mike Washington also has, if you think he's going to go, if you think he's going to go 100 yards and 2 tutties, that would be plus 600 on the specials. But I would honestly rather just bet the plus 400 2 tutties because like he could have 48 yards and 2 tutties.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm with you on that one. Any other ones that caught your eye before we wrap up here?
So I mean, listen. The quarterback ones are tough because there's like multiple Taylon Green props. But again, is Taylon Green going to play? Is he going to play the whole time? KJ Jackson, if you are of the belief that KJ Jackson is going to play extended time in this game, he over over a half passing touchdowns, over a half rushing touchdowns, plus 300 for KJ Jackson. If you think he just gets one of each, I believe he got the rushing last week. I don't think he threw a touchdown. Did he?
I don't remember.
He didn't throw a touchdown last week.
I should have paid closer attention to the end of that game than I did.
Fair enough. By the way, the rushing touchdown he did have was a damn good one. I like Devin Bale, plus 400, over 4.5 punts and over 54.5 longest punt. So he's got to have one booming punt, which, he can do here and there. And he's got to punt 5 times. I like that one. I like the Mike Washington. Well, I don't know. They've thrown me off a little bit with some of Mike Washington's. Like one of them, it's like the yards after catch one. He has to average like 5.5, 6 yards per carry, and I'm like, ooh, that's a little bit tough.
And as you're looking at those, I just want to say, like, it's from one aspect, Arkansas is 2-9. This is a kind of a silly game for them at the end of the season. Your interim coach, you already know, is not keeping the jobs. Like, there's just a lot of reasons for Arkansas to not care aside from it's my last time wearing the Razorback jersey thing. Missouri has been a massive disappointment for other reasons, like not to the level Arkansas has here. Like they're 7-4 coming into the year with that schedule that they had. They thought, man, we might be able to back our way into a CFP spot. And so they're not in contention for that. And if you want to get up for the Battle Line Trophy or whatever, then have at it. But I just don't know how motivated either team is for this football game. Because I could look at it and go, God, I could see Ahmad Hardy rushing for 280 yards on Arkansas in this game, and Well,
Yeah.
Missouri's defense is pretty nasty, but I don't even know how locked in they're going to be. So it's kind of hard to say for sure.
So my final one I want to leave you guys with, Steven Dix, Senior Day special.
Okay.
Steven Dix over 7.5 tackles. So 8 tackles, nothing to scoff at, but he's the only linebacker that we know is going to play most of the snaps, because Sorey's been playing some D-line. And then he just has to have 1 tackle for loss. That's plus 325 for him.
Okay.
And the 8 tackles I feel like is like extremely doable.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. It is for him. Okay, let's we'll do our predictions here. As I was looking at this on Saracen, the line moved from plus 4.5 to plus 4 for Arkansas.
Okay, hey, watch
late
out
movement.
now.
Late
The Sharks
movement.
are getting on it, man. I like Arkansas money line today, if I'm being honest with you.
Love that. I was about to say, are we gonna subscribe to the nostalgia? Send Bobby out. Let him let his chariot be the Battle Line Trophy, and a smile at his final post-game press conference. There we go. Arkansas wins. Calling it.
I think that Arkansas winning would be the funniest possible way this could play out.
Yes.
I have Arkansas winning 30-23. 30-24. Sorry, 30-24.
Okay. I'll go.
Taylor Green plays, by the way, and Taylor Green plays well, I will add.
Okay. I like that. I'll go something weird. 26-24. Razorbacks.
I like that. Also, if you're a Missouri fan who's like popping up to this video and you're like, oh, these smug Arkansas guys, I promise you that we don't really care. Like, I promise you, if Arkansas loses by 58, we will not even bat an eye. I promise you.
No, we will care about this next year when our Lord and Savior Alex Golesh leads us to.
This isn't going to be. Do you think this is going to be full on? Because the last time these two teams played in Fayetteville, it was. I mean, the team quit. It was a disaster. I think it was like 52-14 or something like that. I don't think that's happening. I really don't.
I don't either. Yeah, I don't think so either. I hope not, at least. But if it does, whatever. We're closing the door on this season, win or loss, immediately following this game. Which, by the way, make sure you join us for the Inside Arkansas Football post-game show where, look, we'll spend a few minutes talking about this football game and stuff. But at the same time, by the time we get to that point, who the hell knows what's going to be? We could have a Kiffin decision. We could have other dominoes falling here. We are going to have a lot to talk about this evening, so make sure you tap in with us for that. Subscribe to the Inside Arkansas YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. Turn those notifications on. That way when we go live, and that's for this post-game show, for the breaking news, for the coaching search stuff, all those things. We go live, and you want to be notified. That way you can hop in, get your reactions in, and join us in the chat. But we're going to get out of here for now. Appreciate everybody for tuning in and rocking with us. For Andrew Ellis, has been Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas. You guys have a good rest of your day. Enjoy the game, and we'll see you afterwards for the post-game show.